Human female reproductive system. The female reproductive system consists of a pair of ovaries along with a pair of oviducts, uterus, cervix, vagina, and the external genitalia located in the pelvic region. So these are the parts of female reproductive system: a pair of oviducts, then a single uterus, cervix, vagina, and external genitalia. Then, although mammary glands are actually not a part of a female reproductive system, but it is important to support the process of uh, child care. So that is why mammary glands are also included in the female reproductive system. About the ovaries, ovaries are primary female sex organs and they produce female gamete called ovum and the ovarian hormones like estrogen and progesterone. Each ovary is around 2 to 4 centimeters in length and is connected to the pelvic wall and the uterus by ligaments. Then the ovary is divided into two zones, an outer cortex area and an inner medulla. So this is a picture of a diagrammatic sectional view of female reproductive system. So here we can see the accessory ducts are the fallopian tubes, which are called as oviduct. Each fallopian tube is comprising of three parts. One is infundibulum, which is funnel shaped, and then a wide ampulla, a narrow isthmus. So it is between the isthmus and ampulla, the isthmus ampulla junction, that the fertilization occurs. Then there are a pair of ovaries here on either side. Ovaries are attached with the uterus by ligaments. It is also attached with the pelvic wall by another set of ligaments. The uterus comprises of the inner lining called endometrium and the muscular myometrium and the outer perimetrium. The mouth of the uterus opens into the cervix and cervix opens outside as the vagina. So in this, the oviducts, uterus as well as the vagina constitute the female accessory ducts and each of the fallopian tube is about 10 to 12 centimeters in length. The infundibulum is thrown into finger-like processes called as fimbriae and fimbriae will help in collecting the ovum during ovulation and bring it on to the fallopian tube. The uterus is also called as womb and the shape of the uterus is like an inverted pear. The uterus opens into vagina through a narrow cervix. The cavity of the cervix is called cervical canal. Then perimetrium is thin and membranous. The myometrium is a layer of smooth muscle. Endometrium is a glandula and it lines the uterine cavity. The endometrium undergoes cyclical changes during menstrual cycle, while the myometrium exhibits strong contraction during delivery of the baby. Now about the female external genitalia. Female external genitalia comprises of mons pubis, labia majora, labia minora, hymen and clitoris. Mons pubis is a cushion of fatty tissue covered by skin and pubic hair. So it is this mons pubis which extends downward to form the labia majora, which are fleshy folds of tissue extending from the mons pubis and they surround the vaginal opening. The labia minora are paired folds of tissue under the labia majora. The opening of the vagina is often covered partially by a membrane called hymen. The clitoris is a tiny finger-like structure which lies at the upper junction of two labia minora above the urethral opening. The hymen is often torn during first coitus, that means sexual intercourse, but it can also be broken by a sudden fall or jolt, insertion of a vaginal tampon, active participation in sports like horseback riding, cycling, etc. So, in some women, the hymen persists even after coitus. So, because of these reasons, the presence or absence of hymen is not a reliable indicator of virginity or sexual experience. The fact is that in some cases the hymen may not be present, and even if it is present, it might be already broken because of their active participation in sports. So that is why hymen should not be considered as an indicator of virginity or sexual experience. So here we can see the female reproductive system comprises of these parts: accessory ducts, the gland ovary, external genitalia, and mammary gland. These are the accessory ducts, that is the fallopian tube, uterus, and the cervical canal. Now this is a picture of the external genitalia in females. There is a cushion of fatty tissue with hair called mons pubis, which extends downwards as labia majora, and underneath the labia majora is the labia minora, and these two protects the urethral opening as well as the vaginal opening. Clitoris is a finger-like structure present between the two labia minora, and vaginal opening may be covered with hymen. Now the mammary glands. The structure of mammary glands can be explained like this. It's actually mammary glands called breasts are extension of pectoralis major muscles or the chest muscles. So they have got fat cells. Then the milk secreting cells are called alveoli. The milk starts secreted inside this only at the end of the pregnancy stages due to the hormone called prolactin. And at that time, the milk which is produced in the alveoli drains down the tubules, which is called as mammary tubules, and the mammary tubules join together to form mammary duct. Mammary ducts will join together to form a wider portion called ampulla. Many ampulla will join together to form lactiferous duct, and which drains the milk into the nipple and which is being suckled by the baby. So in this, the alveoli are separated by lobules. Around 15 to 20 lobules are present inside the mammary glands. Just like in testis, around 250 lobules are there. Like that, in case of mammary glands also, the lobules are present. This is a textbook image of the sexual view of mammary glands. You can see the pectoralis major muscle here, and then there are plenty of alveolus seen, and they are arranged in lobules. They are arranged in lobules, and there are fat cells seen here. The alveoli extends to form the tubules. Tubules will join to form the mammary duct, and then comes the ampulla. The different ampulla will join together to form the lactiferous duct towards the nipple. The part of the mammary gland around the nipple will be dark and they will be called as areola. The process of formation of mature female gamete is called oogenesis. So oogenesis is initiated during the embryonic development stage when there will be a couple of million gamete mother cells called oogonia present in each fetal ovary. No more oogonia are formed and added after birth. These cells start division and enter into prophase 1 of meiotic division, but they will get temporarily arrested at that stage and they will be called as primary oocytes. They will be diploid. Each primary oocyte inside the ovary, they will be surrounded by granulosa cells and they will be called as primary follicle. So at birth, there will be around 1 million primary follicles present in ovary. At puberty, from there, 60,000 to 80,000 primary follicles will only be left in each ovary. The primary follicles, as they grow, they will get surrounded by more granulosa cells and they will be called as secondary follicles. Later, secondary follicles will be called as tertiary follicle, in which a fluid-filled cavity develops called as antrum. Then the theca layer is organized into inner theca and outer theca. The granulosa cells will arrange into theca externa as well as theca interna. Later the tertiary follicle will grow in size and that's when they complete its first meiotic division. That is when the girl attains puberty, leading to the formation of a large haploid secondary oocyte and a tiny first polar body. So it is this tiny, the first polar body will not have any function as such, but it is the secondary oocyte which has been released during ovulation time. And the tertiary follicle changes into mature follicle called as Graafian follicle. Because of the influence of the LH hormone, the Graafian follicle will rupture and it will release the secondary oocyte. Actually, it's not the ovum, it is the secondary oocyte which is released during ovulation. The secondary oocyte will develop a covering around itself called as zona pellucida. And what happens to the ruptured Graafian follicle? The ruptured Graafian follicle will become the corpus luteum. So these growing follicles and whatever follicles you see here, they are located in the cortex area of the ovary. And these growing follicles will produce a hormone called estrogen, whereas a ruptured Graafian follicle called as corpus luteum produces a hormone called progesterone. The functions are that estrogen maintains the health of the reproductive system, whereas the progesterone maintains the endometrial lining of the uterus. So here we can see the schematic diagram of oogenesis. Oogonium, with they are diploid, they will undergo mitosis to form primary oocytes. The primary oocytes will undergo meiosis 1, but it is not completed. It is arrested at the prophase stage. So at birth, in the fetal ovary, there will be only primary oocytes. Then at the after childhood stage, when the girl attains puberty period, the meiosis 1 will get completed, leading to the formation of secondary oocyte and first polar body. Now, at the middle of the month, what has been ovulated is this secondary oocyte. Suppose if the girl attains adult reproductive life and that the secondary oocyte comes in contact with the sperm, the initiation of the meiosis 2 will start here. Meiosis 2 will be completed here and then leading to the formation of functional ovum and a second polar body. The functional ovum's nucleus as well as the sperm's nucleus will fuse together and form the zygote later. And this ovum, the secondary oocyte will be surrounded by zona pellucida and also cells called corona radiata. So the sperms have to dissolve these membranes, have to dissolve the corona radiata as well as zona pellucida and then come in contact with the secondary oocyte. So this is about menstrual cycle. This graph we have to analyze and study. The reproductive cycle in the female primates like apes, monkeys and humans is called menstrual cycle. We can also say that it is the cycle of events taking place between one menstruation and the next menstruation. So on an average, all women they have a 28 or 29-day menstrual cycle, but it may vary from one person to another. Some may have 26-day menstrual cycle also. But menstruation will not occur during pregnancy and it occurs only when the ovum is not fertilized. But it doesn't mean that menstruation doesn't occur because of only pregnancy. Menstruation will fail to occur due to another reasons like stress or poor health. So the menstrual cycle can be divided into the following phases: menstruation, follicular phase, luteal phase. So during the first 3 to 5 days, we can see there is menstrual flow. At the same time, so the endometrial lining will break down. At the same time, in the ovaries, you can see the follicles are in the developing stage. Since the follicles are there in developing stage, the level of follicle stimulating hormone produced by the pituitary will be higher than the luteinizing hormone. The next phase is follicular phase or the proliferative phase. During this phase, the endometrial lining is seen as being regenerated, and there in the ovary at the same time, mature follicles are seen, tertiary follicle followed by the Graafian follicle with antrum, and these mature follicles will be producing estrogen. So the estrogen level will be higher than the progesterone. The pituitary hormone, luteinizing hormone will start to increase. Follicle stimulating hormone is also going to increase. Now, on the 14th day of the menstrual cycle is regarded to be the ovulation day. During that day, because of the LH surge and because of the rise in the hormones of follicle stimulating hormone, the Graafian follicle will rupture, releasing the secondary oocyte. Then comes the luteal phase. The luteal phase extends between the days 15 to rest of the cycle, that is 28 days. There you can see the endometrium lining has been maintained, it is maximum grown. And in the follicles, we can see the graphene follicles have transformed to form corpus luteum, which produces the hormone called progesterone. It is the progesterone which maintains the endometrium lining. And LH will also be high in the pituitary hormones compared to the FSH. After the 28 days, we can see the corpus luteum, if pregnancy doesn't happen, then the corpus luteum will regress. Then the progesterone hormone will become less and the estrogen will become higher when compared to the progesterone, and the next menstrual cycle repeats. So in the exam point of view, they will be asking questions like what happens during the 3 to 5 days of menstrual cycle in uterus, in ovarian follicles, in ovarian hormones and pituitary hormones. So we can list it down and tabulate like this. During the first 3 to 5 days, it's the menstruation phase. What happens in the uterus is the endometrium lining breaks down. Ovarian follicles are developing, estrogen is higher, follicle stimulating hormone is higher. But the next phase is called follicular phase, which extends between 7 to 13 days. Endometrium is regenerating, follicles are mature, estrogen is still higher, LH is higher this time. And the 14th day is the ovulation day. Endometrium is regenerating. This time, rupture of graphene follicle takes place. Estrogen is high and it is due to LH surge. Rupture of graphene follicle releasing secondary oocyte is called ovulation. The last phase is called luteal phase or the secretory phase, extending from days 15 to 29 of the menstrual cycle, where the endometrium is maintained because of the corpus luteum formed in the ovaries and the production of progesterone hormone. LH hormone is higher. The cycle of events starting from one menstruation to next is called menstrual cycle, and it repeats at an average interval of 28 to 29 days.